What's up, Patriots? Welcome back to the channel. We've got a real barn burner today, diving deep into a clip that's got more twists and turns than a California highway. We're talking about Trump, foreign policy, and a panel that's, well, let's just say they're not exactly seeing eye to eye with common sense. Get ready because we're about to dissect some truly head-scratching arguments and inject a dose of reality. You won't want to miss this.
Talk about it.
Tonight, the world is on notice, emboldened by the military strike in Venezuela and the capture of its leader, Nicolas Maduro. President Trump is now threatening several other countries. He's warning that they could be next.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it very long. Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out. You have to do something with Mexico. Mexico has to get their act together. If they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
It's all part of Trump's bid for the Western Hemisphere dominance. But just how far is he willing to go to achieve that? Here's what his top White House advisor, Stephen Miller, had to say.
Fascist powder.
The United States is using its military to secure our interests unapologetically in our hemisphere. We're a superpower, and under President Trump, we are going to conduct ourselves as a superpower. It is absurd that we would allow a nation in our own backyard to become the supplier of resources to our adversaries, but not to us, to hoard weapons from our adversaries, to be able to be positioned as an asset against the United States rather than on behalf of the United States.
Now, just imagine that he was talking about China, and then you see Taiwan is gone.
I just said that.
By that rationale.
How does that make any sense, though? Because China and Iran and Russia, they just lost a strategic partner in the Venezuelan dictator.
Let me explain why it makes sense. Let me explain why it makes sense. His rationale is we're a superpower, and we can do whatever we want in our hemisphere. China says we're a superpower, we can do whatever we want. Why would we let Taiwan sell natural
Wait,
resources?
you're talking about the Iran whose nuclear facility was just neutered
and
World War III did not erupt?
I'm talking about China
the Monroe Doctrine.
This is a triad.
I didn't say, hold on.
This is the new axis of evil, right? They all work together. They're all in cahoots.
Hold on, Caroline. Let's just take one at a time, okay?
Did she just get back from a Hanson brother tour? What's wrong with you, mommy? Relax, chica.
You're Taiwan, and suddenly China says, we're not going to let you sell chips to the United States. Why would we let you sell chips to an adversary? You're in our hemisphere. You're in our backyard. We're a superpower. We're going to just take you off the map. He seems to be laying the predicate there, Stephen Miller, since he's making policy in this White House. He's laying the predicate there for any country that sees itself as a superpower to do exactly what we just did. So how do we stop that?
But again, you're forgetting that those adversaries you just mentioned are already neutered by Trump's very strategic
China is
strikes.
neutered? How?
China's neutered because now one of its partners, Iran, is neutered because they all work together. They all collaborate pretty well.
China is neutered because Iran is neutered.
Do you think the message of this operation is that China will be empowered to attack Taiwan?
I'm just asking you to take what he said to the logical conclusion.
The logical conclusion, according to President Trump, is that he thinks we're in a new Monroe Doctrine where we control Western Hemisphere, China gets Asia, Russia gets Europe, and we split the world into three parts. Now, that makes no sense because in the 21st century, oceans are highways, not borders. But it's also a bastardization of what James Monroe must be turning in his grave right now because the whole Monroe Doctrine was about anti-intervention. It was about anti-colonialism. It was about Latin American countries being independent and sovereign.
How is this colonialism or imperialism? We don't exercise any sovereignty
we're running the place and we're going to take their oil. That's the definition of it.
He's exercising leverage over Maduro's deputy, which is a good thing because, as you pointed out rightfully, she has a lot of skeletons in her closet and she's very much part of the
point
regime.
Is, when China goes to the third world, they come with economic offerings and benefits and infrastructure, and we say, if you don't give us everything you got, we're going to kill you, okay? Which of those do you think is going to work over the long term?
Can we just back up?
Do you know the Colombian president's poll numbers have gone way up in the last week?
Can we back up just a little bit?
He's the most popular leader now because of what Trump did. He's actually bolstering his enemies and driving them into our enemies' arms.
Let's back up just slightly because
Cabbage Patch Josh Rogan is completely right. This is the kind of shit that our own allies would look at with a side eye. We're creating so many unnecessary enemies, and Hansen, brother, is so stupid. Abby's right. What will stop China with the same logic from using that same justification on their side of the hemisphere? Well, we are taking control over over Taiwan. It's in our national interest. They're in our backyard. If they did that, guys, ay, pobrecito, we are so fucked over here. 90% of the world's most advanced chips, microchips, come from Taiwan. Like, it would affect literally everything. The economy would be effed. The military, all of it will be crushed. This is extremely stupid and dangerous what Trump did. America first, though, right? The peace president, Trump called himself. All these idiots on the right were chanting, like they always have these stupid chants. No new wars. That was one of their chants. Now they're like, well, they're in our hemisphere, so it's not really a war. It's just like, backyard cleaning. Diablo. But I will be fair. There's a lot of Republican voters that are pissed about this. But they really should be pissed with themselves, thinking Trump is a man of any word that he says or anything close to it. Hey, how those grocery prices going? Coming down on day one, right? And just watch, guys, how more and more Republicans get on the side of Trump because, again, this is a cult. They're so easily fooled, and Republican leaders and pundits know it. They hate the other side so much, so if the other side is against it, they're just going to be for it, just for that. People are brainless.
You're right. But also one of the
That's the opposite of what he wanted to do.
But also one of the problems with this foreign policy that dates back, nothing happens in a vacuum. And when we go back and we look at Elon Musk, for example, and we look at USAID, one of the problems that many people had when we talked about foreign policy was the fact that we actually had some soft power, right? We would go into these countries. We would do things like develop these programs, things that China is doing in this hemisphere that they still will be doing, things that China's doing in Africa, which we've advocated. We pulled ourselves out. So where is China growing their influence? Now, is China weaker because they lose 10% of their oil reserves? Yes. What does that have to do with the debt that China, our debt that China holds? Not much of anything. Is China still a superpower? Hell yeah. Will they flex their muscle against Taiwan? You bet against that if you want to. But I think we also have to look at a foreign policy that's run by tweet. We have a foreign policy that is disheveled. You all don't even have talking points about what the objectives were for kidnapping Nicolas Maduro. And the last part about it is, to your point, Democrats have to hammer this, and stop writing these long-ass tweets and essays. Like, he is choosing Venezuelans over Americans. He's choosing Caracas over the needs of these people, of our soybean farmers. We are actually talking about Greenland instead of inflation. Right. Like, we're talking about invading other countries.
On Saturday, he said we're going to spend billions of dollars rebuilding their infrastructure, right? This is a man who campaigned largely as an isolationist, who campaigned about pulling back and ending conflict. And in the first year of his administration, we've bombed Iran, Yemen. Now we've gone after Venezuela, as well as many others. I mean, this man doesn't see a problem that he doesn't think he can bomb his way out of or use the military to do. And frankly, I'm sorry, as a three-time combat veteran in Iraq and Afghanistan, I bristle when a five-time draft dodger bangs the war drums in Washington, D.C., because when elites bang the war drums in Washington, D.C., what happens is some young kid in a rural town in middle America, in places where I grew up, has to pick up a rifle, jump into a tank, jump into a helicopter, and do the tough thing. It's never Donald Trump. It's never people like Stephen Miller. They never have to do this the tough stuff. It's people like me and the people that I grew up with that have to do it. And America, again, is over all of this. Right? They want peace. They want restraint. They want people to be smart about the use of power. Yes, they want toughness, but they want smart toughness.
Let me play a little bit more from Stephen Miller. This is where he decries that after World War II, we've been abiding by, the rules that we created after that war. Listen.
For years, we sent our soldiers to die in deserts in the Middle East to try to build them parliaments, to try to build them democracies, to try to give them more oil, to try to give them more resources. The future of the free world, Jake, depends on America being able to assert ourselves and our interests without apology. This whole period that happened after World War II, where the West began apologizing and groveling and begging and engaging in these vast reparation schemes.
Guys, you notice how so many Republican men have such a whiny voice? Squeakers, Ben Shapiro, this idiot, fascist powder, Stephen Miller, Tucker Carlson, Scott Jennings. So many of them has this squeaky, annoying voice.
I mean, it's hard to know exactly what he's talking about, but he seems to be lamenting the idea that after World War II, we created a global order in which we said, hey, countries, don't run around invading each other. Don't depose people just because you can. Why is that such a bad thing that he wants to be gotten rid of?
So again, I say this with all...
Sorry, guys. Poppy has to do it. It's her theme song. I could while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain, dee-dee-dee-dee. And my head, I'd be scratching while my thoughts are busy hatching if I only had a brain. Guys, all of this was just so unnecessary. Maduro already offered to give us damn near whatever oil trade deal we wanted. Offers were on the table. He wanted to have even more talk. It's going to cost us billions of dollars. Who knows how much it's going to cost us? The Iraq war took us trillions. Like what we're trying to do here in Venezuela, who knows how far this is going to go? How would this help the everyday American person and the everyday American citizen? Of course it's not. This is an absolute joke. And the truth is that this won't really hurt China, really at all. Losing access to this oil, they're the world leading in solar energy, and they're doing more and more. They have ways around this because China is also a world power that has that kind of leverage. They can get around things. And Bakari is right. Africa is being completely developed with railways all over the place, airports, a bunch of manufacturing plants in Africa by the help of China. Obviously, China has interest in doing this, right? But Africa obviously welcomes the help. And when it comes to shove, these African nations will not forget how China treated them over the U.S. While the U.S., every time they effing set their foot in that continent, is to start a damn war or to remove leaders. Like, when the F do you ever hear China doing that?
Due respect to your service, sir, and the perspective that you bring to this table, which I truly admire. But I really think this comes down to whether, the world, that post-World War world order was working or whether it wasn't. And if you were part of the elites in America, it was really working for you. And if you were working class, it really wasn't. Look at how far China got under that rules-based order. Look at what has been done to this country, the mass migration, the fleecing of the American working class.
Before you jump in,
Bakari, comes down to whether you think that crime and drugs and mass migration were bad and an emergency or not.
Batya, let me ask you to answer your own question. How has the United States done since World War II? How have we done?
Well, we did great until 1971.
No.
Starting in 1971,
no, seriously, answer
the
your own
elites
question.
got very wealthy,
how are we
and they
doing,
ate up 60% of the GDP.
How are we doing right now vis-a-vis the rest of the world?
I don't care about the rest of the world, Abby. I care about the American working class and the American people. I'm answering your question.
You just suggested that it was such a bad thing for the United States.
Yes.
We are
Deaths of despair.
the number one superpower in the world. We are the top economy in the world. We are the guarantor of peace in the world.
10%
Hold on.
have eaten up
I understand
60%
it. Listen,
of the GDP.
income inequality is a huge problem, but there is no question, none at all, by any objective measure, that the United States was not the greatest beneficiary of the world order that we created after World War II.
Whose kids died of a fentanyl overdose,
respectfully,
Abby.
we're not asking the
sorry,
right. Respectfully, we're not asking the right.
For everybody.
Bakari, can you just give me a second?
Sure.
Thank you.
Whoa, hold your horses there, folks. Did you catch that? Deaths of despair, fentanyl overdose, and then, almost in the same breath, that is why people vote for Donald Trump. Now, I'm not saying these issues aren't critical. They absolutely are. Fentanyl is tearing through our communities like a wildfire, and the despair is palpable. But to leap from those very real, very tragic problems directly to an indictment of the entire post-World War II global order, and then suggest that that's the singular reason for Trump's appeal, that's a logical jump worthy of an Olympic gold medal in mental gymnastics. It's a classic move. Find a complex problem, simplify its cause to fit your preferred narrative, and then offer a solution that conveniently aligns with your existing political agenda. Let's be clear. The American working class has had a rough go of it. Absolutely. Wages have stagnated for decades, manufacturing jobs have vanished, and the cost of living feels like it's on a rocket ship to Mars. But to pin all of that neatly on a rules-based world order we supposedly created after World War II, and then imply that somehow, magically, a more isolationist, confrontational foreign policy will fix your kid's fentanyl addiction or put food on your table in Detroit, that's not just simplistic, it's dangerously misleading. It's like blaming your flat tire on the invention of the automobile itself, rather than the nail you just ran over. The global order, for all its imperfections, brought unprecedented periods of peace and prosperity for many, including the United States. It allowed for trade, for alliances, for a degree of stability that, frankly, we often take for granted. To say it was bad for the United States when we became the undisputed economic and military superpower of the world, leading to an explosion of innovation and wealth, just doesn't track with reality. The real issues facing the American working class are complex. They involve automation, corporate greed, a tax code that often favors the super rich, failing education systems, and yes, sometimes poorly managed trade deals. But to wave a magic wand and say, it's all because we played nice after World War II, is to ignore the actual economic policies and domestic decisions that have impacted everyday Americans. It's a convenient narrative, sure, one that offers a simple enemy, the globalists, but it doesn't offer a real solution. It's the political equivalent of a snake oil salesman promising a cure-all for every ailment, from baldness to bad breath. And let's not forget the sheer hypocrisy. Many of the same voices railing against the global order are often the first to cheer for aggressive foreign interventions when it suits their political agenda. It's an America First slogan that sometimes sounds suspiciously like America First unless we feel like kicking someone's door down. You can't have it both ways. You can't decry globalism and then advocate for unilateral military action that destabilizes regions and creates more problems for the world, and ultimately for us. It's like complaining about traffic while simultaneously blocking 3 lanes of the freeway. The fentanyl crisis, for instance, is a tragedy, but it's driven by drug cartels, lax border enforcement, often under various administrations, let's be honest, and a domestic demand fueled by despair and lack of opportunity. It's not because we agreed not to invade France after 1945. These are serious problems that demand serious, nuanced solutions, not bumper sticker slogans and historical revisionism designed to rile up the base. Attributing complex domestic woes to a simplified, villainized foreign policy is a classic move, but it's a distraction from the real work that needs to be done at home. It's a political sleight of hand, diverting attention from the tough, unsexy policy work required to truly address these deeply ingrained societal issues. And frankly, it's insulting to the intelligence of the very people suffering from these deaths of despair to suggest such a flimsy connection. Think about it this way. If the global order post-World War II was truly the root of all evil for the American worker, why did America experience such an explosion of wealth, innovation, and a burgeoning middle class in the decades immediately following? Were those benefits exclusively for the elites? Of course not. Millions of Americans climbed the economic ladder, bought homes, sent their kids to college, and lived out the American dream precisely because of the relative stability and economic opportunities that system fostered. To rewrite history and claim it was all a grand conspiracy against the working man just doesn't hold water. It's a convenient narrative for those who want to dismantle international cooperation and return to a more isolationist, confrontational stance. But it ignores the very real benefits that countless Americans reaped from that era. We need solutions that tackle the actual problems, not imaginary boogeymen from history.
Listen, there is income inequality in the world. There are drug overdoses and deaths in this country that are way out of control. But we're talking about the big picture of where we were at the end of World War II and where we are today. And the United States has guaranteed peace, prosperity, and security around the world for that entire period of time. And we have done it and been the primary beneficiary, not China, but us.
I want to answer.
The question I'm asking you and Stephen Miller is, what time period exactly are we going back to? Are we talking about colonialism?
Okay.
Do we want
Let
colonies?
me
Or we
answer
want to
this.
invade Greenland? We want to steal it from a NATO ally? We want to dissolve NATO? What are we doing?
All right. So starting in 1971, working class wages stagnated. So working class people are making around the same amount of.
You think that's because
Can I
after
want to
World War
answer your very good question.
But you think that that's
I want
because
to
after
answer
World
this
War II,
very good
we
question,
told
Abby.
countries to stop invading each other?
Starting in 1965, we implemented a policy of mass migration to where the percentage of foreign-born Americans right now is higher than it's ever been in American history. That led to the disinheritance of the American working class that is very tied to our foreign policy.
So your code word, a policy of mass migration, is really what you're talking about. Is that we stopped saying that only
we
Europeans
offshored
could come to the
manufacturing
United
to
States.
China.
I'm just trying to decode for the Americans.
We
who don't-
offshored manufacturing to China.
I'm not into the euphemisms here. If you're talking about 1965 and mass migration, what you're talking about is a policy that said that you don't have to be from Europe to come to the United States. You can be a talented person, a person with potential from anywhere
Abby,
in the world.
all the immigration restrictions before that were on Europeans, like Jews, who they didn't let in.
Can we go back to the topic?
So that's not right. It's not about race at all. It's not about Europe. It is about the difference between being an American and not being an American. And we sold that difference out through that post-war world order. And that is why people vote for Donald Trump.
The question is wrong. The question is wrong. The question is wrong.
Beijing Bakari, chill out for 1 second. Guys, Baya, this is why I call her Baya the brainless. She's just a puppet for the rich. She's so dumb. It was tax cuts. It's so obvious what happened. It was deregulation. Obviously, a lot of tech advancing that caused a lot of automation. And fentanyl is brought by Americans through Mexico, not Venezuela. Like, dear Lord. She was just saying a bunch of nonsense. It's just a bunch of talking points, lies, garbage that she has ready and set up. And you again, you effing hear how they bring up crime or violence when again it comes to immigrants. When immigrants commit crime at a lower rate than Americans. I don't like that fact. I'm an American, but it is the fact. Stop effing lying. It's a disgusting racist lie that these dumbass Republicans say over and over. Just obviously meant to scare people. They have to make up the lie. Always remember that. Because without the lie, it's hard to make their argument. And she said she cared about the American people. She cares so much about the American people. But we're all for the tariffs on Americans. That is literally an increase in taxes. She's just a effing puppet for the wealthy. Anything to not blame them. How they're able to convince so many poor people in this country that it's other poor people that are the reason that you're not able to get ahead. Not the people with literally all the money. It's just an amazing level of stupidity. It's just an amazing level of stupidity in some people in this country. And guys, again, I'm so sick of this damn talking point. Immigrants, you guys can look this up yourself, almost has a negligible effect overall on wages on Americans. If anything, they increase wages in the long run.
All right, pause. Did you hear that? Negligible effect on wages. Increase wages in the long run. Now hold on a minute, Professor Hansen. While it's true that immigration can contribute to economic growth in certain sectors and under specific conditions, to paint such a rosy, unqualified picture that it has a negligible effect or even increases wages for all Americans, especially the working class, is a gross oversimplification and frankly, a bit detached from the lived reality of many. It's like saying adding more water to a swimming pool always makes everyone a better swimmer, even if half the pool is already overflowing and people are drowning. Let's be real. When you have a significant influx of low-skilled labor, basic supply and demand kicks in. If you increase the supply of labor in certain sectors without a corresponding increase in demand for that labor, what do you think happens to wages in those sectors? They tend to go down, or at least stagnate. It's not rocket science. It's basic economics 101. This isn't about being anti-immigrant. It's about acknowledging economic realities. For those at the bottom of the economic ladder who are already struggling to compete, increased competition from a large pool of new arrivals can absolutely depress wages and make it harder to find work. It's not a negligible effect when it impacts your ability to pay rent or put food on the table. The idea that immigrants are willing to do jobs that a lot of Americans are not willing to do is often used as a convenient excuse. While there's a kernel of truth there in some physically demanding or low-wage sectors, it also often masks the fact that those jobs could pay more if there wasn't a constant, readily available supply of cheaper labor. If American workers were offered competitive wages and benefits for those jobs, many would absolutely do them. It's not about being unwilling, it's about being unable to survive on poverty wages while the cost of living skyrockets. This narrative conveniently shifts the blame from employers who benefit from cheap labor to the American worker who supposedly isn't willing to do the work. And this talk about increasing the size of the economy, sure, more people means more consumption, more production, a bigger GDP number. But a bigger pie doesn't automatically mean everyone gets a bigger slice, especially if the new slices are going primarily to those at the top, or if the pie is growing in ways that don't benefit the existing working class. We've seen GDP grow for decades while working class wages have flatlined. The size of the economy isn't the only metric that matters. The distribution of that wealth is just as, if not more, important. A country can have a huge GDP and still have massive income inequality in a struggling working class. It's like having a giant mansion with a leaky roof and broken windows. Impressive from the outside, but not so great for the folks living inside. His example of the pencil and the pen is a straw man. He's talking about a theoretical market where you can't just raise wages without consequence, which is true. But he's ignoring the existing market where wages are suppressed by an oversupply of labor in certain areas, often exacerbated by unchecked immigration. It's not about paying everyone double or $60,000 willy-nilly. It's about ensuring fair wages that reflect the value of labor and allow people to live with dignity. We're not asking for economic fantasy. We're asking for economic fairness and a system that prioritizes its own citizens. This whole argument conveniently sidesteps the real impact on communities. When you have increased demand for housing, schools, healthcare, and infrastructure due to rapid population growth, legal or illegal, without adequate planning and resources, it strains everything. It's not just about wages, it's about quality of life for everyone. Our public services weren't designed for exponential, uncontrolled growth. So while Professor Hansen might have gone to undergrad and grad school for finance and investments, his analysis here feels more like an ideological talking point than a comprehensive look at the complex economic and social impacts of immigration. It's easy to preach about the theoretical benefits of a larger economy from an ivory tower, but it's another thing entirely to live with the consequences on the ground in working-class neighborhoods. Let's not pretend that more people automatically equals better outcomes for every single American, especially those who are already struggling. We need to be honest about the costs and benefits and prioritize the well-being of our own citizens first. That's not stupid. That's common sense for any nation.
But what it does do, it increases the size of the economy. It does grow it. Obviously, more people, bigger economy, right? If you were a business, would you rather a town with only 1,000 customers, possible customers, or 10,000, right? It's simple. Which that leads to long-term wage increases, right? As you're doing more business, you're making more money. Guys, China is about 70% of our economy size. They're nipping at our heels. They're doing it because of the shit ton more people. And they've had that for a long time. Like, you don't have to believe anything I say, guys. Look it up. Like, and the countless studies on immigration and wages. Like, this is just nonsense. We can't be so against immigration that it just hurts us. It's just so stupid. Like, immigrants are willing to do jobs that just a lot of Americans are not willing to do. Full stop. I don't know what to tell you. We're a developed nation. We're the world power, right? Rightfully so. If you're English-speaking born in this country, there's just better for you, better jobs available for you from someone who just crossed over the border.
And the reason the question is wrong, respectfully for the past conversation, is because people at this table are attempting to articulate that somehow the working class in America has had a rough go at it, right? That's your argument, the working class. My question to you is, how does a presence of America in Honduras, in Colombia, in Cuba, or in Greenland help working class Americans?
Well, I can answer
it for Venezuela.
Okay, well, I'll answer it for you. If the regime is more stabilized, and I just said before that we do have a large amount of leverage over Maduro's deputy, even though she still represents a communist regime. But if it's more stabilized, there will be less migration pushed by poverty. I mean, they might have a chance at prosperity now.
But you didn't even do regime change, right? And you just articulated
What do you
when we
mean
went
by
through the
stable? What do you mean by
Destabilizing them.
stable?
It's the same government.
It's
in
Maduro's
place.
government. So what's more
But we
stable?
have leverage over that government
it's
now
Maduro's
because we
government.
just abducted the dictator and took him
Okay, but
to the United States.
but you recognize
with
that
minimal casualties
you recognize
to anyone.
But you recognize that the problem with the Maduro regime wasn't just Maduro, right?
The whole
it's the
regime.
whole regime.
That's why it's
It's the
called
whole
regime.
regime that's
But you're
predicated
That's
on
right, and I agree. It's probably
oppression,
not
violence,
long-term
narco-terrorism, the
But
whole
you
thing,
want-
right?
Listen, I don't think it's
Dictatorships
long-term
are not
sustainable
stable.
to keep the deputy
want-
there.
you want
somebody- here's the thing.
You want somebody who-
We've already seen Maduro's deputy say that she's going to start possibly putting resources on the free market, maybe
But you-
implementing market reforms. That means communism could eventually end in
so
Venezuela, which
your
means
argument-
less
so
migration
your
to America,
argument-
which means less downward pressure on
Oh, yeah.
Americans'
So
wages,
your
which means
argument,
less disenfranchisement
so
of
now
the working
they're
class
taking our
in
jobs.
America.
Okay, they're
Wait
not.
a minute.
But hold on, can we back up real quick?
Vatia, they're taking our jobs.
Can we back up 1 second?
They're taking
So our
This is
argument.
actually-
Well, they're not taking his job.
Not
They're
your
taking
job.
working
They're
class
taking
jobs.
blue-collar
1 second.
working class jobs.
So your argument,
which is very important.
your argument to the hardworking middle class American in say Detroit, Michigan, right now, right, who is struggling for groceries, right, whose car insurance has gone up, whose healthcare prices have gone up, who don't have access to quality care,
Yes.
whose schools are failing, is that by going into Venezuela and taking the leader and abducting him, right, then maybe actually having pressure on the regime that he had installed in Venezuela will change something in Venezuela, thereby eliminating some of the migration and migrationary pressures is going to help you survive in Detroit.
It's less competition.
You know,
with
there are
that
500,000
huge industry. Yes, and
illegal
also
Venezuelans
it's not
living
just
in America
competition.
because
It's
of
strained on our
Maduro.
social services and resources. Migration does cost Americans
we
a
don't-
lot, especially when it's unfettered like it was under the
So
Biden
let me ask you,
administration.
would you like-
All right.
hospitals, schools, public services?
I
That's- those
find
are
this-
taxpaying dollars.
We do have to go to break. We do have to go to break.
They pay taxes. Hanson brother, you effing idiot. Undocumented or not, when you come into this country and you make money from this country, you pay taxes. What's wrong with you? They buy stuff in this country. Like, they're just like us. They're not evading taxes. I'm telling you, they're not the ones evading taxes. There's no effing downward pressure on wages. They're just not. There's been countless studies on this, guys. Right. All this argument is just, again, is to take attention away from the wealthy. Then they bring up this racist crap like violence. It's just, guys, just on his back, on his just on paper, does it make any sense that the poorest of people, those with the least, are the reasons why you're not getting ahead? Does that make any effing sense? Or is it the rich exploiting you one way or another, whether it's through tax evasion, whether it's through regulation? Like, guys, this is so insane that Republicans are able to convince damn near half the voting population. Like, and you will see instances where it's true, right? In construction, where some small construction companies taking advantage and paying undocumented immigrants less. But guys, overall, that's just not what's happening. They're doing jobs that Americans don't want to do, working in food processing, agriculture, just right. And you will see these instances where, like I said, it's true. But overall, it's a good thing for the economy. It increases the overall size of the economy by being here, by paying taxes and producing, just like all of us. And the other problem with that is that Americans are just not having enough kids. And they're not having enough kids because they don't have enough damn money. They don't have enough damn money because the rich are bending us over, bending everyone over. And like what usually comes after this is like, yeah, and once we get all the immigrants out, we can start paying people more. And it's just, guys, that's just not economically feasible. Guys, I went to undergrad, and I'm not trying to say this to act like I know more, but I have an expertise. I'm not talking out of my ass. I went to school for business. I went to grad school for finance and investments. You cannot do this. Some of these industries, guys, are just not economically feasible. There's a microeconomics variable at play here. You cannot just pay everyone. You got rid of all the immigrants. Now you can just pay everyone double or 60,000, 50,000 going forward. It's just not going to happen like that. The demand for the product is going to drop like a rock in a lot of lower, whatever the words they use, lower skilled industry manufacturing. The demand for that product is going to drop like a rock if you start paying people instead of 30,000, 60,000. And that industry may completely die out. All those jobs will be gone because there's no demand for the product anymore. You cannot charge a pencil $5 when there's a pen that you could buy for $1. The pencil industry will die damn near overnight. Right? You can just pay all lower paying jobs more just willy-nilly like that. You cannot. Right? Because simple, labor wages have increased far too high for said product, making it far too expensive compared to alternatives like a damn pen. And if the alternatives are also expensive, people won't buy it at all. Simple. Products die out out of the industry. Jobs are gone with them. They'll use their phone now to write anything down. And like, again, guys, what's so crazy, I know I've been ranting for a while here in this video, but what's so crazy about this whole no new wars thing is Biden pulled our troops out of Afghanistan. All these idiots, all of MAGA cried about how it was done. Okay, great. Now Trump is literally taking control of another nation after attacking them and capturing their leader. And you see them already, how they come to justifying it. And they're going to keep justifying. He just talked about Cuba is next. Threatened Greenland, threatened like 5 other countries. This man is losing his effing mind. I told you guys anything not to release these damn Epstein files. I don't know if it's exactly that, but people like Trump, he doesn't care about anyone. He doesn't care about anything. Think he cares about American democracy or anything like that? Or the average American worker getting more money? Of course not. He doesn't give a crap about drug deaths. None of this. This is all ego legacy. Right? Hey, guys, I'm in the middle of 6 wars. I can't look into the Epstein files right now. What are you talking about, Papi?
And there you have it, folks. Another wild ride through the political discourse. From blaming post-Robiut order for fentanyl to justifying military interventions with dubious economic theories, and then dismissing the very real concerns about immigration's impact on wages. This clip had it all. It's clear that some people are more interested in pushing narratives than confronting reality. What do you think? Are these arguments making sense, Or are they just another smokescreen to avoid talking about the real issues facing everyday Americans? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the political circus. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and keep fighting for common sense. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps channel, really helps push the message out there, and I'll catch you in the next